I'm Josh Clendenin, Communications Coordinator for Middle Tennessee Electric. Welcome to our new podcast, Unmetered. As a member-owned not-for-profit electric cooperative, we're focused on providing affordable, reliable, safe electricity and outstanding member service. One way that we've found that we can do that is by providing more avenues of communication to you, our member. Through this podcast, we hope that you'll be able to find some helpful hints, tips, and things to help you conserve energy, as well as some informational pieces that will help you understand what it is to be a member. This week, we're going to talk a little bit about Public Power Week, the cooperative difference, and one of the 7 cooperative principles, cooperation among cooperatives. Last week, we had the opportunity to sit down with our president, Chris Jones, to talk a little bit about his career, get to know him a little bit more, talk about public power and the things that we do as a cooperative. As we mentioned last week, October is National Cooperative Month, and it also holds Public Power Week. The Tennessee Valley Authority generates and transmits the power that Middle Tennessee Electric distributes to its membership. 82 cents of every dollar that Middle Tennessee Electric brings in goes to pay for that power. We run off 18 cents of every dollar that comes in. 2 years after President Franklin Roosevelt signed the Tennessee Valley Authority Act, he created the Rural Electrification Administration. The creation of the REA made funds available to private entities across the United States to provide power to rural areas. At the time, larger energy providers weren't interested in taking lines out to the rural areas, so local farmers and homeowners decided they could do it themselves. During the creation of the cooperatives in the 1930s, the original founders used 6 cooperative principles that were created in 1844 to be the foundation of the electric cooperative. Over the years, we've added one more, which we'll talk about later in this podcast. But it was on those principles that the original cooperative was founded in Mississippi in 1936. Also in 1936, Middle Tennessee Electric energized its first 75 miles of line, serving only 125 members in its service territory. Now, your member-owned not-for-profit electric cooperative serves more than 215,000 members with 11,000 miles of line in 4 counties. But that doesn't get to the heart of the matter. The heart of the matter is where we get our power from, and that's from the Tennessee Valley Authority. As I mentioned, they generate and transmit the power that we distribute to you. While I could sit here and try and explain to you the cooperative difference, we have a video that does it a whole lot better than I can. Let's take a look.
Our story starts back in 1844 in not-so-merry England, where a group of weavers, fed up with the high price of company store groceries, pooled their money to buy their own food, creating a new form of business, the cooperative. The idea caught on. Here in the U.S., President Roosevelt gave electric cooperatives a jumpstart with the founding of the Rural Electrification Administration, the REA, telling American farmers and ranchers, if you want electricity, you can do it yourselves. And they did. Rural men and women quickly began scraping together the $5 needed for membership and equity in the co-op. Up went the poles and wire and lines to bring rural folks what they so desperately needed, power. Soon, electric cooperatives popped up all across the country, transforming the way of life in rural America. Today, there are more than 900 electric co-ops in the U.S., bringing electricity to some 42 million Americans. So how do cooperatives work? First off, cooperatives are not for profit. Money comes in from members when they pay their electric bills. Money goes out to pay co-op expenses. A little bit is set aside for emergencies and the future. Pretty sweet, huh? But it's not just about the money. Co-ops exist only to serve their members. They have a unique set of cooperative principles. All may join, regardless of race or gender or creed. That's the first principle of cooperatives: voluntary and open membership. Members vote for the directors to lead their co-op. They vote yay or nay on big issues. Majority rules. That's the principle of democratic member control. Everyone pays a little money to become a member. An owner. We call that principle participating economically. Cooperatives believe and invest in education, training, and information. That makes them smart and sets them apart. Cooperatives stand on their own 2 legs. Decisions are made locally for local people. We call that principle autonomy and independence. But cooperatives also work together. They join forces to restore outages after storms, get financing, do research. and speak up in the halls of government. We call this hallowed principle cooperation among cooperatives. It's what makes us strong. And co-ops have a heart, a big heart. They help kids and industries and communities to grow. They give to hospitals and fire stations, ballparks and businesses. Cooperatives deeply demonstrate this principle. Concern for community. Community. Community's a cool concept. Communities are just groups of people. And that is the cooperative's secret ingredient. It's the dedicated people who work day in and day out to provide reliable and affordable power. It's the elected people who shape the policies and tackle the big issues. For the most important group of people, the members. Members. The whole reason cooperatives exist. Now that's the cooperative difference. And that's the cooperative advantage.
As you can see, there really is a cooperative difference. Today, rural electrification is responsible for providing power to more than 900 cooperatives in 47 states and more than 47 million members. All told, cooperatives own and maintain more than 2.5 billion miles of line crisscrossing the United States. As Chris Jones said last week, cooperatives really did electrify America. And all of that is built on the 7 cooperative principles, one of which is cooperation among cooperatives. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to tell you about our linemen going down to Florida to help out with Hurricane Matthew.
Imagine, if you will, what it must have been like after dark in the farms, ranches, and small towns of America 75 years ago. Before there was power. Before there was electricity. But that was all about to change, and change it did when farmers, ranchers, and rural families banded together to shine a light on the need to turn the lights on in rural America. Cooperation created the electric co-ops, and the co-ops created a movement so profound that President Franklin Roosevelt said, "The forward march of electric cooperatives has an even more profound significance in terms of our fight to preserve democracy." Is there any finer representation of democracy at work than neighbors helping neighbors? When the electric co-ops were born, something much bigger happened. For when we turn the lights on, we help democratize the American dream for the people, families, farms, ranches, and businesses of rural America. The effect was so powerful that in 1940, a man sitting in a pew in a small rural church in Tennessee was moved to say, "Brothers and sisters, I want to tell you 2 things. The greatest thing in the world is to have God in your heart, and the next greatest thing on earth is to have electricity in your home." 75 years ago, a handful of farmers and ranchers, united by the common values of honesty, responsibility, equality, and solidarity, and armed only with a powerful purpose, took the lead, banded together, and answered the call.
Unmetered is brought to you by Middle Tennessee Electric. Today we've been talking about the 7 cooperative principles, most specifically cooperation among cooperatives. This last week, our line crews were able to go lend a hand to some residents in Florida as Hurricane Matthew marched through Haiti and the Bahamas and made its way for the east coast of Florida. Typically, as storms roll through like this, whether it be a hurricane in the Gulf or it be an ice storm here in Tennessee, we reach out and ask each other if we need help. In cooperation with our statewide organization, the Tennessee Electric Cooperatives Association, more than 80 volunteers from across the volunteer state headed towards Florida and South Carolina to render assistance for storm restoration efforts. Middle Tennessee Electric sent 13 men down to Clay Electric Cooperative to help for their storm restoration. The team from Middle Tennessee Electric joined nearly 600 other utility workers and construction workers to restore power to 73,000 members over a 3-day period. Last Friday, a team of trucks, along with a mobile mechanic, left the Murfreesboro office at 6 a.m. headed for Florida. Before they left, local media was out to talk to them about a couple of things that they expected, some of the preparations that they've made, and Fox 17 was gracious enough to provide us with one of those interviews. Let's take a listen to what Jesse Cunningham had to say.
We've got crews from Middle Tennessee Electric already on the way to Florida to help restore power there.
Fox 17 Samantha Singer live in Murfreesboro with the latest. Samantha? That's right. We have a dozen crew members from Middle Tennessee Electric putting their lives on hold to go help in a very dangerous situation. So we actually have one of the crew members, the foreman for the lineman, Jesse Cunningham. So Jesse, we were talking about it this morning. What is motivating you to go into this disaster area?
Well, I'd like to help people. You know, we want to help our neighbors because we might have to have the same response. It's always better to give than receive. I'd much prefer going down there as them coming up here. But what motivates me, you know, it's rewarding to help folks in need, and, you know, I want to get them people back to their normal walks of life.
That's right. So you guys are going to Keystone Heights, Florida. It's about an 8-hour drive. You'll be there maybe 2 weeks. What supplies do you pack for you all to make sure that you are well equipped down there? Like, what are the necessities you have with you?
Well, you know, all our tools, all our climbing gear, you know, we want to inspect everything, make sure we got all our equipment intact, and, you know, plenty of ice and water, and, you know, we're going to be dealing with a lot of flooding, so we got waders and stuff like that to get our job done.
Well, thank you for what you're doing. Be safe down there. We're going to actually see them head off. We've got the trucks right here, 9 total trucks, 12 crew members. They're going to Keystone Heights, which is about 30 minutes east of Gainesville, and they're heading out at 6:30. We're going to see them. We're going to follow them, track this as these Middle Tennessee men are going and, you know, risking their lives, going in a dangerous area down in Florida to help with Hurricane Matthew relief. We are reporting live here in Murfreesboro at Middle Tennessee Electric. Samantha Singer, Fox 17 News.
As you can see, our linemen were not only well prepared, but ready to go and help out wherever they could. The trucks rolled out at 6 a.m. and late Friday night they arrived in Florida and checked into Clay Electric Cooperative early Saturday morning to start restoration efforts. Through updates sent by the crews and the pictures that you're seeing on screen, you could see that they were really in the swamps of Florida. Throughout their 5-day trip, crews worked hard to clear lines from trees, restring lines, fix poles, just provide service any way that they could. Unlike some of the elements that our crews are used to working here in Tennessee, down in Florida they were really in the swamp. They were deep. They had to wear hip waders, watch out for alligators, water moccasins, and all kinds of other hazards while they worked to clear the lines. Late Monday night, restoration efforts to the members of Clay Electric Cooperative were complete. Tuesday morning, our crews got the call that they were able to come home, and we welcomed them home last night. These linemen left their daily routines to go provide outstanding member service to members of another cooperative the same way that they do here every day. They truly embodied the volunteer spirit and the nature of a cooperative, and that is the cooperative difference. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure and check us out next week. We're going to talk about some energy efficiency tips, light bulbs, water heaters, caulking, all the things that you can do to save money on your electric bill.